I too would like to start off by thanking everyone this evening. I know that several of us every morning get an email that kind of talks about what's going on around the state. And most of us know who Carol Cook is, who is a school board member in Pinellas County. In this morning's email, it stated, school board members are not expected to follow the lead of other large Florida districts and require students to wear face masks with only medical excuses accepted for opting out. These are her words. The issue is not on the agenda for today's board meeting. So they had a board meeting yesterday, and she said, as the chairwoman, we don't pick and choose when we follow the law. So they did not hold any form of a vote. I have been watching a lot of the school board meetings that have been going on around the around the state. I watched Sarasota's entirely on Friday. I was absolutely appalled, I'll be honest with you, with the way that meeting was handled. I appreciate the fact that we have, throughout this entire process, been calm. We have allowed individuals to speak. We have not cut them off. That's not what I witnessed when I watched their meeting. I also did hear the same part where they basically stated, one of the individuals on that board, that once the students step on campus, that parents lose their rights because we as the school now are in charge. I totally disagree with that. Where I stand on this is where I have stood from day one. I do believe people should make choices, okay? I need some of you to think back to some of what happened last year, where we had parents that followed the correct steps and they got the medical documentation for students that truly needed to not wear a mask. I mean, we had a student basically almost pass out and not able to breathe who was asthmatic because he was made to wear a mask outdoors while running. We had people not following rules. I visited every one of the campuses within my area, and I visited a lot of the campuses even within the other areas. I can't tell you that I ever saw 100% of the time everyone wearing a mask correctly. And it wasn't just students, it was also adults. What's happening now is, I don't know about your emails, but my emails are filling up with tattletelling, where everybody's telling on each other. Okay, is this the society that we're in, that we're taking pictures and tattletelling, this person's not wearing it correctly, that person doesn't have it on. And so, we do have the parental rights bill. And if we go the path of mandating this and only giving an opt-out for medical, my question is the medical going to be accepted? I mean, we had a parent sit here last year and cry. And I did not in any way at all identify that it was her daughter until she came up here and shared herself of what her child went through on a school campus because we did not accept the doctor's medical reasoning. We didn't accept it the first time. We didn't accept it the second time when the doctor wrote out the diagnosis along with all of the medication she was taking, which quite frankly is none of our business. Like, we should not know anything medical about anyone. I mean, Carl, you and I have talked. You're a principal. You know that there were times when you as a principal, medical information was shared with you that could not be shared with another person on that campus, okay? But yet we put that young lady through it who had an IEP, and let's keep in mind of what we're dealing with the Department of Justice. She had an IEP. Mr. Penley stepped in and said to the school, you have to take her medical documentation. And part of the teachers took it, and they still followed her IEP, which one of the things was she needed to sit near the front of the room to be able to see what was being projected on the board, because that was one of the pieces of her IEP. Other teachers put her in the back corner behind a frosted plexiglass shield, and if she popped her head up to see the board, She got yelled at. Okay, what have we come to? I mean, let's be honest. I appreciate everybody through all of this that has come up here and spoke calmly and made their point. I don't appreciate it if they have heckled others or whatever, because everybody has a right to speak. But what are we doing? Okay? I don't know how many campuses you guys have been out on. I'll be honest with you. Everybody's talking about the elementary campuses. I'll be honest with you. I've listened to these districts say, "Oh, well, we're not gonna mandate masks in high school." Okay, I don't know about you guys, but when I visited high schools last year, and if I go on a high school campus this year, it's the high school kids that aren't wearing masks. They're the ones that are making out. They're the ones that are sitting all over each other. They're the ones sharing food. Go to an elementary school, and those kids, number one, when you open the door to get them out of the cars in the morning, or you're helping them off the bus, if mommy or daddy or grandma or aunt or uncle or their guardian has said to wear it, they're wearing it, okay? And the ones that aren't wearing it, lots of them have one in their bag where the parents have said, you feel you want to put it on, put it on. But, we want to talk, like last year we called them super spreaders. They weren't super spreaders this year. I'm not saying that, yes, we're under a different variant this year, but there is no vaccine for that group. That's the group, though, actually, when you go, they're spread out more. I mean, those teachers kept them spread out last year. Those teachers didn't do circle time. I hope and pray they're back to doing that, though, because here's what happened to those little children last year when we put masks on them. Remember, I fought for shields and got criticized for that. But what happened to those children, they're behind in learning how to read any kind of social cues, because social cues are a big piece of facial expressions. They didn't see their teachers' faces, all right, unless their teachers went to a mask. And I will tell you, there's a lot more teachers wearing masks this year so that kids can see them. But they're behind in their reading skills because they didn't know how to form those letters and sounds and do the blends and things like that. They can't see the teacher can't see them. You're going to hold an emergency meeting because there's at least 4 of you that are going to go for this, and that's all you need. You only need 3. But I need all of you to stop and think about what is it we're doing, because quite frankly, I'm with Carol Cook out of Pinellas. There are laws to follow. And I followed the law or the policy we put into place last year, but not everybody else did. I can't be the only one that heard from parents that kids were outside, masked in the 100-degree heat with 97% humidity. I can't be the only one that heard that. All right? We need to, I think, pause for a moment. Yes, this is contagious. It's more contagious, but maybe not necessarily with the same outcomes of little ones. Our little ones weren't our super spreaders last year, and everybody's doing something different. We've got counties that have left teachers out. We've got counties that have mandated for teachers. We've got counties that aren't making high school kids do it because they believe they're vaccinated. I don't necessarily believe that. And even if they are, it's not 100% working. We heard our own Carol Sawyer come up here again tonight, representing all the bus drivers and the bus assistants. We heard from her last year. She came up and spoke so many times about this. Yes, we may not have plexiglass, although Dr. Shanoff, I'd like for you to come up for a minute because I have a few questions for you. I asked Dr. Shanoff about the face shields, and that's why he had them delivered over here, because they've got the face shields in stock with another 5,000 on the way. These are the ones that we tried to put on kids last year, the little ones, so that we could help them learn how to read and not fall further behind. These are ones we provided for the teachers so that they could see them. Do we still have plexiglass shields?
We do.
So when we hear that they're not using them, is it that they've just not requested them? I mean, I didn't understand last year when everybody just gathered them up and threw them away. I would have never thrown them away. Like, I could have used them for like a study care area, in my room, if I needed to separate a child that needed to take a test or something. So what do you have in the warehouse, and how do we go about getting it out to the schools?
So we have plenty of stock of PPE available in the warehouse. We have masks, we have face shields, we have wipes, we have hand sanitizer, we have desk dividers. I will say that we did have the Department of Health here several months ago, and they did indicate that the dividers were a less effective mitigation strategy, but it is still a mitigation strategy nonetheless. So if folks did want them, they are available. That is something that we have available right now. Many of our schools have kept their dividers from last year. If they have not kept them, we still have dividers available for them.
Okay, thank you for that.
And our supply line, let me add, our supply lines for our PPE are very healthy. They're wide open. We're receiving them frequently, whenever, pretty much on demand. So we're paying very close attention to the requests that are coming in to ensure that we have an appropriate stockpile in our warehouse.
Thank you, and I do appreciate that, because I think there's, last year we kind of had to talk about this because there was this misconception that, the stuff wasn't available, and yet we made sure it was available last year, and there, every campus has someone that can just quickly put in the order, and it will be delivered by the warehouse guys within a short period of time. So when people come up here and say, well, we don't have these things, it's you haven't requested the items.
We have plenty of stock and are prepared to respond to any request for PPE delivery.
Okay, thank you. So, yes, we have a job to provide safe environments. We also have a job to educate our children and not have them fall further behind. I don't know how many of you have talked to families, but some of our families that chose to do VOL last year or chose to do live, their children made no progress because we gave them a false sense of security when we sent them home for that spring break for 9 weeks, and we gave everybody the same grade that they had earned for the third 9 weeks. So they got into this idea of they didn't have to do work. So we have children that basically missed out on all of their learning last year. So I know there's been this statement out there, oh, what does it matter if they miss out on a year's worth of learning? We'll catch it up at some point. Mr. Persis,
Yeah.
what do we know about that?
Yeah. No.
It won't happen. All the research shows if a child has one poor year in an elementary class setting, if they're in second grade and for some reason their teacher goes out on maternity leave in October and then chooses not to come back, and they have a sub that just sits in that room for the rest of the year that does not have any background knowledge on how to teach them to read for knowledge or what math is like or science, we know that we've almost doomed them. 2 years and they're finished.
Oh, yeah.
And then we wonder why they get to middle school or high school and they're struggling to read or not being successful. So the bottom line is we already we lost to 9 weeks. Then we lost last year for a lot of these kids. So my question is, are you willing to lose another year? Because 90 days is half a school year. It's half of a semester. And is everybody in this room okay with saying to parents, thank you, but we're going to tell you what to do? I'm not okay with that. I'm a parent and I'm a grandparent, and I'm all about being a part of the community. Now, you've heard me say, I've said to parents, keep your children home if they are sick. Please don't send them. I've said that for years. The first year I taught, I had strep throat 3 times because I had to build up my immune system. But I know you're going to do what you want to do tonight. I do want to add to this, though. ABM, Dr. Shanoff, you know my feelings on ABM. Dr. Fritz, I'm over ABM. I have tried to work with them from the time I got on this board. They cut hours again this summer. I don't know what they're doing, but they're not keeping the campuses clean, and they're not doing the job that they're supposed to do. And I read every ticket that comes in from that anybody puts in, and I respond to ABM, but I'm fed up with ABM. So I agree with Mr. Colon on ABM. I'm also going to agree with Mr. Colon on the uniform piece. Why set it up that they're not following the rules? I mean, we couldn't enforce a uniform policy. We're not now enforcing a dress code policy. And quite frankly, as long as the private areas are covered, because I do think private areas need to be covered, I just need kids there to learn, because we're way behind the 8 ball on their learning. I mean, that's what's happened. And, I knew what slides were, but my only thing with slides, and I get they're wearing them, but they're not the safest thing.
No.
But where I stand on, you guys want to hold an emergency meeting, you can hold an emergency meeting. I will continue. I'll hear everybody's point of view on it, but I'm not going to break the law.